Everybody, you know what time it is. It's Wednesday. And looking for that.
I went to
Fernando's
a
got a special announcement for everybody. But everybody, thank you so much for hanging in there with us. It's Wednesday, and you know what time that is. It's chasing gazillions. Ain't the same as making millions. Wednesdays with Fernando down 30 pounds and Anthony.
went to the fat farm. Not really. Just stop eating.
Just stop eating.
You want to lose weight? Stop eating. It works.
You look fantastic, man.
I'm not sick. Nothing's wrong with me. Just stop eating.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Golf game's on point. Got to play Sawgrass 2 weeks ago. Very nice.
Well, you always playing. I want to tell you a couple things with me. One, I had a surgery last week, major, but I'm out and I'm on the road to recovery.
And what happened? You can't just say I had a surgery major and then stop talking about it. What are you doing?
Well, they found a lump in my behind, and then they said, well, we need to go and test it. And anyway, 10 centimeters later and 15 ounce, whatever, of pus and stuff later, out of my behind. Yeah. And so pathology looks good right now. But I'm talk to the doctor tomorrow, but I'm recovering. But it was rough. It's been rough this week.
Damn. That sucks.
It does. Hey, man, but that's life. Hey, we're moving on. So I'm happy about that. The second thing.
Hang on. On a good note, your ass is smaller now, though. Gotta look at the positive.
Because I was going to tell you, I was down. I was about 10 pounds out of my behind.
Yeah.
Also, but
yeah.
Okay. All right. So the second thing is, I played 18 holes at Jesus Christ. Not Lake Presidential, but the other one.
Woodmore?
I'm a member of Woodmore, not Woodmore. The other one, the other course that's out here off of 214.
Renditions?
No. But you can't walk it. It's so long. It's so big out here in this golf course.
I don't walk any course unless I have to.
Okay, fine. Anyway, the point is that everybody, my game has been improving, and you know how he gets on me about the golfing and only playing the 3 practice holes down at.
Who does that?
Right. I played 18 holes. I'm hitting the ball better. I'm practicing regular. Hey, man, I'm doing it. I wanted to throw it in your face before we got started.
Well, I shot 88 on the TPC course where the pros play. Pretty happy about that.
I bet you are. Because I'm actually not keeping my score.
As my friend told me, I'm in the ass-kicking business, and business is good right now. As I won the front bet, the back bet, and the overall bet. With 3 very good
everybody knows that, yes, Fernando, you play well and you go to all these tournaments all around, traveling all the time. Look, we got started a couple minutes late, and our guest, we got a special one for you all tonight. And we're going to be bringing him on in a couple minutes, but because just who he is, I was nervous. I'm nervous, but it's got so much information to share with you all. Scot Browing, the president of Capital Bank, is with us tonight, everybody. And I know you all are excited to talk to him because I've been seeing your responses to my emails I've been pushing out all week that he was going to be here. And I know you all have a ton of questions for him about his bank and everything else. And so before we jump into that, Fernando, hey man, how's your mom?
Had a visit with her last week. I think it was last week when I was down there.
Miami.
It was a good visit, actually. We didn't fight. I didn't make her cry. So that's just good. I have succumbed to the fact that I just have to be nice to her until she dies. and not try to correct her or fix her or try to make her better in any way mentally.
Yeah.
Because mentally she's still pretty strong, just physically she's falling apart. I mean, for her to get in the car and out of the car, it's a half hour. It's 30 minutes.
Sure.
So it's a little bit of a grind. I was there all week, took care of her, cooked for her. She can put away some food too, by the way. Me, I'm trying not to eat. She's
Appetite is always
getting
good.
after it. Yeah,
That's right.
a woman can eat.
That's right.
And
We
then
love
her brother stayed with us too, who's 86, and I took care of him for 2 days. So that was
there you go.
I got 2 for what? I got a twofer.
A twofer. There you go.
Which was a pain in the butt. But I am looking forward to Scott tonight. I got a few questions myself for him. So
nice.
I did a little prepping today. And
I okay, because you know what? I felt like my back was feeling a little better from carrying you every episode. But I'm
really
glad
well. If you stop talking, maybe I can lift a little water. I mean, you just don't stop talking. I mean, not my fault.
All right, everybody. Enough of me. You all get me all the time. Let's bring on our special guest here, everybody. Scot Browing.
Great. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Welcome to Chasing Gazillions. Not the same as Making Millions. Wednesdays with Fernando and Anthony, just two real estate professionals kicking the can and talking to subject matter experts like yourself about what our audience need to know and understand about the real estate industry here in the greater DMV, the things that are impacting them, and where the opportunities are. We always looking for where the opportunities are.
Yeah.
So, but before we jump into that and start peppering you with all these questions and all, Scott, we want to remind you, we appreciate you taking the time to come and talk with us. But this is all about you. So feel free. It's about you. And in spite of what Fernando may say throughout this program, it's not about me. It is about you. And tell us about you. Tell our audience, this is live, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Hey, I'm getting on TikTok to that millennial market.
Don't do that TikTok.
China's
listening. Be careful.
That's right. And tell the audience who you are, about yourself, and what we have in store, to hear from you.
Great. Well, thank you. And real pleasure to be here. And I hope we have a lot of fun. And if I can provide some information and be of value, it'll make my day. So here I am. Capital Bank, headquartered right here in Rockville, Maryland. We are a branch light commercial bank that really has 3 divisions. We have a mortgage division. We have a secured credit card division called Open Sky. We have a commercial. And what I do within commercial is responsible for commercial real estate lending. So very appropriate for our discussion tonight, and specialty lending, things like SBA loans and something called lender finance, where we make loans to other businesses that make loans. So that's what I focus on in my role. And Capital Bank's public, CBNK. So our ticker symbol. We're $2.2 billion in total assets. We've been around since 2000, roughly. And in the commercial, we specialize in focusing on closely held businesses, middle market businesses, real estate professionals, not-for-profits, other entrepreneurs that are interested in having a good banking partner, a professional at their side. It's one of those things that we sort of describe. If you're in business, you should have a good attorney. You should have a good accountant. You should have a good real estate professional. Right?
We didn't have to pay him for that plug. Thank you so much.
You should. And you need someone on the street who knows what's going on, and you need a good banker. You need someone who you can pick up the phone and talk to.
That's right.
There's lots of fine other banks out there, big and small, but you want to be sure that in addition to the products, all of our money is the same, right? It's all green. It's all dollars a dollar. Interest rates are probably very similar. The bottom line is, though, do you have a resource? Not only do they answer the phone when you need something, but can they give you something over the phone or in person or through the relationship that's of value to you? And it's an aspirational thing to be sure you're really good at it, but I think we're better than most in delivering that. So that's about who we are, and certainly be glad to be available for anyone on this listening and enjoying our conversation.
Okay.
That's part about job. What I like, it's people. It's a people business. We're not in a back room moving papers around for money. We're interacting with people. We're living vicariously through their successes, we hope. So maybe I can reflect on the, I don't know what the number is. I was trying to think about it before the show here. If I had the opportunity to learn from customers, how many was it? Is it hundreds? Is it 1,000? I started this business in 1986. So sounds ancient now, but back, gosh, it's gone fast. But I've always been in banking. You asked me a little bit myself. Been in banking my entire career. Started off as a credit analyst. I never wanted to be in banking. I thought it was boring, so I'd be a business person. But the best way to find out what business I wanted to be in, I was going to analyze businesses in a bank and find the best one. And then that's what I'd do. And I'd either buy one, start one, get to know a customer and have them let me, if they didn't have any kids, I could inherit it or something, whatever the plan was. And what was great about that and great about banking is if you're interested, people like that. Anthony, tell me about your business. How do you make money? How are you going to borrow some money? How are you going to pay me back? Tell me about that. What do you charge? How much do you pay your employees? You can ask any question, they'll answer it.
For the banker,
you're going to tell me. You want to borrow $1 million? Tell me something. And so you tell me all those answers, and if you're a good credit analyst or a lender, you're writing, taking good notes, you're keeping track, and you're learning about the business. And then you go, gee, I really like Anthony's business. I'll recommend we make the loan. When you start doing that, a bunch of customers, that's really a good element of a good or characteristic of a good lender. You understand your business, because when you call and you ask that question, you know about it, and you can give some valuable resources. So what happened was, I was doing this not because I really wanted to be a good lender. I wanted to find the best business. Maybe I'll do what Anthony does. So I'll learn all about it. I can make some good money doing that. It's got some upside. It's got growth. And but what happened, unbeknownst to me, is I was becoming a good lender. And then you start having people refer business because you're good at it, because you're genuinely interested. My motives at the beginning was not to be the banker. My motives was to find out what business to buy or to do. And I got close on two over the years in terms of being interested. One was a rental business for chairs for like banquets. I thought DC, a lot of parties, and people, you can rent chairs, tents. It's durable. You buy it, you can depreciate it, you can reuse it. And I thought that was pretty interesting. But that one didn't come to fruition. Another one was looking at over the years, and I found out I was just not that much of a risk taker. I think to be a good entrepreneur, you have to be willing to take some risks.
Yes.
And bankers then I think suited me because I was just a little more risk averse.
Okay.
So, but that's my background. And so then over the years, lender, ascended through the ranks and then a leadership role where I am now, and really enjoy it. Really enjoy making, living vicariously a little bit through your clients, helping them, their businesses grow.
Yeah.
Solving problems or solutions, finding solutions. If someone has a really clean and organized financial condition, they look at their businesses, they make money every year, all the trends are up to the right, everything looks good. It's kind of easy to improve on, but being a business owner, there's all kinds of curveballs and twists and turns and things that don't go right now and then. You have to figure out the solutions for things that don't always fit. And that's all.
Scott, let me jump in here right now.
Yeah.
Because, the pixie dust is falling, and I'm feeling so good. You got me feeling so great about.
God. Here we go.
Right?
Here we go.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'm hearing you, and I'm following, and I'm tracking. You're qualifying, and you're just talking, and you make it seem like when you started back in '86, and now I was meeting guys, I was shaking hands, I liked their business, and the money was flowing out the door. Okay, fine.
Right.
But now it's 2023, and we've been, you and I, because I also, in '86 is when I became a licensed real estate professional at the University of Virginia.
There you go.
You see that one? You see that one?
Wow. Woo!
There you go. Wow.
Biggest
And
one.
we've been through a lot of cycles.
Yes.
And, when clients come to me and they're asking about, hey, I just had someone today say, can you refer a commercial lender to me? Right? Then I referred you because, well, I wanted to tell you that and get that brownie point.
Thank you.
Make sure you get that. But the point is that what I tell clients is, hey, you want to look for someone who's putting money on the street, not just taking in a lot of paper and dragging it out.
Right.
And so being local and regional helps in that decision-making process. I wonder if you could talk to the audience today about that process. I heard you say people, and people are important.
Right.
I agree.
Right.
People are important.
Mm-hmm.
But talk to the audience today about someone who comes to you with high ideas and they heard, but the bottom line is they need money. And what are they going to experience when they call you? By the way, I don't know if you can see it, but we got your name and number, Rockville, and all up there. So
Okay.
People, is that the best number for them to reach you?
That's the main number.
Let's get the best number.
With a direct number, let's do that. 240-283-0401.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. I'm also the admin on here, so I don't move that fast. So give me that again. 240. Yeah. 283.
0401.
01. Okay. Yep. And I'll get that updated here in the program before we go. Yeah. We're at the 7:20 mark. But go ahead. Talk to us about, I send someone to you today because the client says, Anthony, I'm looking for a commercial lender. I did some preliminary qualifying. Maybe it's for a church. Maybe it is for a nonprofit. Maybe it's an investor who's looking at one of my multifamily properties. Tell me what he's going to experience.
Let me approach this maybe a little bit differently, and I hope this is helpful. I can talk about the checklist. I can talk about the funding. We are a regulated business. We're a bank, so we have to have the paperwork you talked about earlier, and you have to get there. But what I would like to suggest is, if the frame of mind is be prepared to answer the questions with the banker who's not just going to plug you into the hope. Some places might be like I refer to as like the easy bake oven. Give me your stuff. You put it in one side, hope that comes out the other side with an answer. And smaller loans at bigger organizations have to be done that way. It's just the only way they can be efficient. But if you want someone to have a custom understanding of your business, it would be a little bit different. Okay. And I think what you want to do is prepared with the answers. How am I going to pay you back? And it's really fundamental. And sometimes we get caught up in things that are more complicated than they need to be. It's just like if it was my own money. Anthony, if you just personally come to me and say, Scott, I need $100. Scott, I need $500,000. And I said, okay, how are you going to pay me back? What are you going to do to pay me back? And it isn't, don't worry about it. You trust me. I do, but you're in business. So tell me what you're going to do to pay me back. So if you have a business, you want to be prepared to tell the banker how you're going to pay it back. And it can't be general. It can't be, well, with my profits. Sure. It's got to be, well, this is what I'm going to do. I have a new contract and I need to borrow the money to pay the people now. And when I submit my invoice, I have to wait for it to be paid. And when the invoice is paid, I will pay you back from that invoice. Very specific. So then it gets in my head or any banker's head. This is going to be a receivable line. And then they say, well, let me tell you about who that debtor is on that invoice that will be paid, what that business is, and what the work is that I'm going to do for that, and how that work is profitable. And I always revert to, because I think I'm pretty simple. I like things, if I can boil it down to something very simple to understand, it's manageable. So how are you going to pay me back? What's that revenue that you're going to generate that either leads to the profits or the conversion of assets? And what is that product that you're selling? Is it service? Well, if it's service, how do you charge? Time, hour, rate? And you break these things down to that that basic equation that you remember from economics class is what is revenue or accounting. Price times quantity equals revenue. P times Q. So what's your P? What's your price? What's your rate? And what's your Q? What's your volumes? What are you selling? And you give me the P's and the Q's. It comes up to the revenue. Then I got the top line of your P&L. And it's not that much that you really got to dig into thinking of that you're an accountant and you're doing this financial stuff. It's just the basics. That's what everyone does in every business. McDonald's does P's and Q's. Banking does. We call it loan volumes and interest rates, but it's P's and Q's. Drive revenue. So if you're a business person and you're in an operating business in particular, if you can outline and describe it casually, just like our conversation here, you're going to get the banker to go, I understand what you're doing. That makes sense. It's reasonable. Then what you do, all that paperwork that you get later, just should validate that. Just should confirm what you were saying.
Nice.
And then when that pulls together, you're going to have a smooth process for your loan approval and moving along. Now, the flip side, the more technical thing, yeah, you're going to need to get 2 to 3 years of financial statements. This time of year, if your year end is a December year end, you're going to need what we call an interim statement, like that an August or July financial statement.
That's right.
If you own the business, we're going to want you to take the same risk we take. So we're going to ask you to guarantee it. Right? If we're going to loan $1 million and take $1 million risk, we want the owner of the business who's got all the upside to have the same risk we have. So that means we'll get a personal financial statement and 2 years of tax returns. And a personal financial statement is a list of things that you own and things that you owe. That's it.
Not my children.
No children.
No children.
Not necessary. No.
Not necessarily. No.
All right, Scott. I want to get into some more.
Sure.
Not as intense questions right out of the gate.
Okay.
When did you go to Stetson University?
80 to 84.
Did you grow up in Florida?
No, I grew up in Connecticut.
And you went to Stetson down in Florida, huh?
Yeah.
I went to high school in Miami, and one of my good friends in high school, Georgie Fernandez, played basketball for Stetson. Do you remember Georgie at all?
In that time frame, guard?
Yeah.
Was he a guard?
He was a guard.
Yeah, I do.
I went to high school with him, Miami Killian.
That's a small world, sure.
I saw that and I thought, wow, I bet he knows him.
Yeah.
2,500
students who knew everyone. We even played intramurals against the basketball team. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I bet it was.
By the way, your listeners, it's a Division I team.
Stetson. Yeah.
We beat Marquette one year.
Nice.
Really? Wow.
You remember those things, sure.
You do remember those because here's another piece of trivia.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one for Stetson and Marquette. Here's another piece of trivia. When the ACC expanded to 12 teams and Florida State came into the ACC,
right.
Who was the first team to beat Florida State?
It would have been an expansion team.
No. We went from ACC expanded and
when Maryland was in the ACC, would it have been Maryland?
Yeah. Thank you.
No.
Because
it was Virginia.
Virginia.
Was the first
exactly.
team.
Oh, okay.
He's a homer.
There you go. I could have gone there because that would have been logical. But hey, the Terps. Wow.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nothing better than the Terps playing Duke. I mean, why they left the ACC? Those games.
For the money. Don't get me started.
Of course, it was the money. But how valuable was going to a Duke Maryland game and standing there? It's magical. It's gone.
That's right.
Went to them all.
There you go. That's right.
Anyway, sorry.
All right.
Now it's all been cheapened.
What is?
It's all been
okay.
cheapened.
All right.
Hold on, I got one for him because he mentioned that he was head of commercial and doing loans with investors and all.
Sure.
And in that hypothetical, he was describing, talking to an investor. So let me ask you a question. As an investor, where would you, in this market, suggest my investor clients focus their funds in this current market? I mean, maybe you could talk about some strategies, for navigating in this current market. But where should they be thinking about deploying your money?
Yeah, So commercial real estate assets, asset classes. Now, office is really tough, and it could be alluring because there are some perceived bargains. We have had a few folks show up and see, I always wanted to own an office building, and then they've come across something that is really cheap, and they think it's great, and they think of it in terms of pre 2022 sort of mindset, and that's completely different. So long story, don't go into office necessarily unless you can convert it to something else or you have something unique. It's a treacherous place to go. But I think where there's safety and opportunity is single family. It's got to be a little more higher price. I think the days of probably being able to do well in some volume on the lower price stock has been pretty well worked through in the DMV. But if you think about where we are in 2023, we have so many residences built in 1980, 1970. And you all know this, but I think for everyone on the call. And that's housing stock needs to be refurbished. And the price points of buying something for $300 and putting 70 into it and selling it for $490 or something, I think are behind us. But there's that next level where I think there's opportunity. And I think if you match that level, and I said level up, it's a little higher price point, but properties that you can sell for low seven figures or higher in strong demand. And because there's such a shortage of housing stock, if you pick the right submarket and get that entry point, that's just a place to spend your time to find the product. And if you can take that idea and then find a property that's got a little bit of a problem to it that you can solve, then you have more opportunity to make money. So you have a little bit of a problem solver. Now it's hard to do tons of those. So if you're looking for scale, it's a little bit different. But if you're looking to do, a handful a year or something or less, that's probably a good place to try to spend your time.
Nice. Thanks, Fernando.
What about tell us about your work and Capital Bank's work with nonprofit lending, which I think that's an interesting niche that you guys do, and a lot of banks do not.
Sure. One area of specialty that we do exceedingly well, because we have a strong commitment there, is veteran services organizations, VSOs. And we have a fellow named David Vardaman who leads that and is very, very committed to working with these organizations that support our veterans. And whether it's, I think he's the member of the American Legion Post One, that type of thing, and supports the American Legion and its organization, to the Navy Museum, to a whole host across the Virginia and DC, is quite rewarding. And there's a lot of stress in that population from PTSD and acclimating back to society, even after all this time. It's just a concern and an issue that really needs to be resolved. So from a population of people who gave service to all of us, and then have these difficulties, I'm really proud of what David does to support time. We banks, and we can make donations and go to galas, which we do, but to have someone with the bank, not only do you go to them, but sometimes we organize them and put together recognitions or other events. It could be fundraisers, or it can be in just general support, and that's a real plus. And we're very proud of it. We just had probably 8 weeks ago down at the Masonic Temple, where George Washington was one of the members. That big temple in Alexandria. And I've never been in that building, but you drive by it a zillion times, and you always wanted to be in there. Well, we put together a recognition of women in the military, and these 4 ladies who were very accomplished in the military in terms of one first jet fighter pilots, commandant of the Marines. I think I should have these names in front of me. I don't, but very, very strong competence. The equivalent of the admiral in charge of the Coast Guard is currently female, and she was in attendance. And we did a recognition event there, dinner, and that was really compelling, because you think about just in that one particular group of people, you have, here we're in 2023, but we've got people who are our age, right? And the young lady's like, I want to be a fighter pilot. It's like, you can't fly jet, not allowed. And these are the people who were the vanguard of those changes, and now you look back, it's almost like it would seem like that was 60 years ago, not 20.
Do you lend these nonprofits money for working capital, or what or you just help them with their causes?
It's more on the deposit and the support side. Certainly they do have a borrowing need, but we're right there. But they're usually pretty well supported by memberships, and so it's, if they wanted to buy a building, and we do, we have we refer to them as owner-occupied mortgages, and we'll be glad to provide a mortgage to buy a headquarters building or something like that. But there's not really a lot of working capital needs or equipment needs or that type of thing for these not-for-profits. They really want our support to help them achieve their mission.
Okay, Anthony, you have something? I have one more.
Yeah, one more. I want to bring something in, and then right after that, then we're going to go to our sponsors. Go ahead with your next question, Fernando.
Can you tell us a little more about the new lender finance group that you guys are implementing?
Sure. We have a group who are with a bank called PacWest, who, if you follow banking, was absorbed by Bank of California. They had that crisis we had, which was like a run of deposits when like Silicon Valley Bank went out of business overnight because of the old fashioned, you bet, was it not You Bet Your Life? It's a Wonderful Life. That movie where the killer the killer activity that would put banks out of business instantly was the run, and people would lose confidence in the bank and then take all the deposits out, and you're done. And you kind of thought that was an archaic.
It was an electronic run too, wasn't it?
Well, that's right. The running was different. It wasn't with your feet, and it wasn't lines. And so SVB was PacWest got caught up in that and had liquidity problems, so they had to be absorbed by a much smaller bank. Took them over. Long and short of it, our lender finance group is a specialty lending. That's for a community bank like ours. We tend to have sort of a general lender. That's what I came up as a generalist lender, meaning one day you're doing a not-for-profit, next day you're doing a government contractor, next day you're doing a veterinarian. But as you get bigger and things get a little bit more sophisticated, you need to have these specialties. So you have Scott Listman and Thomas Scott, who came over, who had this division at PacWest, had a $1.5 billion worth of loans that they originated over time. And what they do is lend money to businesses that in turn lend money. So you have your non-bank lenders that actually might be a funder of some of the local fix and flip type companies or businesses, entrepreneurs I was referring to earlier, that wouldn't necessarily want to go through the process with the bank, which is a little bit slower, more paperwork intensive, but it is cheaper. But you'd rather pick up the phone, talk to ABC Lending, we'll fund your loan in 3 days type of business. And they might pay 12 or 15% when they pay us at 8. And well, those businesses have to get the money somewhere, and they don't have depositors putting the money back. They have to borrow it. So we would lend the money, and do now lending money to businesses like that in turn lend it to other commercial, on the commercial side. It's not, we don't do anything on the consumer side.
Hard money lenders.
Yeah, you could refer to it as hard money. A lot of those customers though are bankable. Usually when I think of hard money, I think about non-bankable customer, someone who's
right. They see the money quickly. That's
yeah, see it quickly. Yeah, so you'll trade speed and ease for cost.
Okay, fantastic. Hey, we want to give a shout out to some of our supporters. who are always there supporting chasing Gazillions, not the same as making millions. We appreciate you all coming in every week to support us and as supporters and sponsors of our organization. Our number one supporter and sponsor is the Virginia Bushcrafter. He provides you the opportunity to go out into nature and experience it with your hands and prepare yourself for in the event that you ever find yourself in a car upside down in the woods and in need of help and your little button doesn't work. And so we like the Virginia Bushcrafter for what they do. We also have another special supporter here this year, Fernando, the Country Club at Woodmore.
Oh, yeah.
The Country Club at Woodmore
Nice golf course.
has stepped up and wants to be a supporter of our little initiative here. They like what we've been doing. They've been watching our videos, and they are intending to have their presence felt here with upcoming activities and events and the like. Okay. Next question. You shifted to nonprofits, and that's great because that's close to my heart. I grew up in the nonprofit world. I started when I came back home and I was working here. I worked for the Marshall Heights Community Development Corporation, doing nonprofit housing development here in Ward 7, and of which I am a lifelong Ward 7 resident. I grew up here in Deanwood. We remain, although I don't live in Deanwood now, I still go to church there, Antioch Baptist Church of Deanwood.
Great.
But let's talk about Deanwood and that community. You're familiar with Deanwood?
Yeah.
Ward 7. Share with us, and you should be, I'm sure you're familiar with the economic disparities historically prevalent in areas like Deanwood.
Sure.
We know what HUD and their policies, particularly regarding housing choice voucher residents in the past, and the effect and impact that it has had on developers and investors' interest in refurbishing those old homes you were just talking about.
Sure.
And there's a huge inventory in Ward 7 of those 60s and 70s and 80 homes in the 80s that were built, not a lot built in the 80s, but that are there and in need of. So looking at, say, your Capital Bank's deposits in the city or in Ward 7, talk about any strategies and success stories you have about working with minorities and developers in Ward 7 in Deanwood particular.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little challenged, I think, for Deanwood. I know when we have done projects there, or I have in our office, we got this great big map. And when I first was learning about DC, like, remember those ADC maps? It's like the biggest ADC map in the world.
That's right.
And there's Deanwood, right? And I go, okay, I don't know where Deanwood was, but I do. And I know. But
all that is like east of the river, past RFK.
I used to, but I know. So I know what you're talking about. So when I see a deal come through, or from our CRE team, and particularly we have a lender's name is Paul Merritt. He's very, very active. And if you say the name you haven't heard of it, drive around the city, you'll see his name on some signs.
Right. Everybody knows Paul.
Everyone knows Paul. So when Paul has a deal, or someone on his team has a deal, and there's indeed that's where I know where it is. And we like being part of being able to rehabilitate and bring new life to those properties in the neighborhood, particularly with entrepreneurial sponsors, owners, customers of ours. These aren't big companies. These are men and women who they don't quite swing hammers anymore, but they run their businesses and they find those opportunities and do a great service to our community by having new refurbished housing stock and try to do it in a cost-effective way where they can, capitalism and good work can work hand in hand. And
they do. Yep.
So So in general, I can tell you, I'm very, very proud of our bank and our team and Paul, because if you come and you see our customer base in DC, you'll find that we have a very long roster of folks who wouldn't have gotten much attention strolling into, I'm not going to say other bank names, but other places. You wouldn't have the pedigree, or you might not, English isn't going to be your first language. You came from somewhere else. But you're here because there's opportunity, or you grew up here and you have opportunity, and you're a hard worker. You know what you're doing. You've learned a trade, and Paul in particular is very good at assessing that. Mm-hmm. So when we have some get-togethers, and we do down in DC, whether it's you can think of a few like the Brixton, which we like that neck of the woods down there. We have an office right there at 14th and W.
That's right.
Down there. But it's very, telling a long story here, but I hope there's a good message in here. It's very rewarding to see the folks that we provided the leverage, they provided the hard work, and we've had people do very well and build something that their family and their future is very much financially improved because of our small part in being their banker. And we're not the cheapest in town. Well, we're not. But what I've had a number of people tell us is we're reliable. We're not slow in terms of, if you're going to pay a little bit more for your drywall, if it shows up on time, right? So when you send in your construction advance and we get it done, and we don't tinker around with silly little things. I actually heard a story, and I think the good one. Someone submitted an advance at another bank. You'd know the name if I said it. And the plans called for beige toilets, and they had white toilets. But someone in the process said, "Well, that's got to be fixed, and we got to change that." And it slowed it down 3 or 4 days. Well, you do that time again. You add all those 3 or 4 days over, the number of projects. The guy said, "I've built another whole project for how much faster you guys are, and I made $200,000 on that project. Why would I worry about paying you $20,000 more in interest?" And I said, "Yeah, exactly right." And now this is a guy telling me at one of our little soirees that Paul had for all of our customers downtown. So I think that the story, and I'd be glad to always, another time we can always kind of delve into this a little bit more, sure. Is hands down, I think we lead the pack. We're just head and shoulders above all the other financial institutions like us, banks, in terms of our impact on entrepreneurs who have carved out a successful story in building and improving housing stock in places like Deanwood. Now, to further, folks that are on our board, we have a Howard graduate. His name is Jerome Bailey, who's on our board of directors. He's the chairman of my loan committee. I work with him very closely. He is a really smart guy, a hardworking guy, and he knows that market. That helps us know where we're going and what we're doing, and where the good spots are and where you have to be a little bit more careful. And Jody Green is a retired board member who's downtown real estate owner, and anyone knows 14th Street, and you will know Jody because he's been a fixture down there.
That's right.
The fun story. I keep on talking because I love these guys.
I know you do. And Scott, you and I have known one another a long time. You may not recall, but one of my first condo projects at Findall and V, 2100 V Street Southeast, actually in Ward 8 across Good Hope Road, right. Was a condo development with a little unknown developer who came in to do that project. We eventually sold it to some, but we met back in the day. And I know there are other projects around Ward 7 and 8 where you all have made impact.
Yes.
And you have a presence here and a reputation of putting money on the street and helping to support entrepreneurs, growing developers. And so that's why we like Capital Bank. You mentioned you have board members who come and are serving. Um, how do you see the relationship today in the market between, say, Capital Bank and the brokerage community? Are you finding that brokers are bringing deals and clients to you? What is that a relationship you want to cultivate? Hey,
Mhm.
let's get to the bottom line. How do Fernando and I do work with you?
Sure. Well, I'm thinking of two kinds of brokers. You got debt brokers and you have real estate brokers. So, and both can source business to a bank. So, which category? Debt broker. I want to help place a loan, or I've got my brokerage and I have agents and I've got properties that my clients want to have a transaction on.
Well, Fernando,
Right.
both, because in part because Fernando and Hilco, although let me take his name down because Fernando, I'm sorry, they haven't been seeing your name and your company all this time.
Yeah, I'm more in the quick disposition auction world,
Mm-hmm.
and Anthony's more in the traditional listing
In
Right.
real estate
brokerage.
brokers
That's right. That's
world.
right.
So we have a
Hilco is
nice
doing
mix
auctions
of both.
nationwide
Okay.
in the service that they are providing. Um, Bad loans, mortgages. I
Mm-hmm.
would imagine, given your natural conservative approach as a banker, you all don't have a lot of bad debt and loans
No,
on your books.
we don't, but it does happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens from time to time.
And we do market foreclosures as well, so you don't have to ever take ownership on a property that maybe you don't want to own. You're foreclosing on it, but God forbid you win the bid, which typically banks do
Right.
because you credit bid on your amount and nobody's
Right.
willing to go that high because it's upside down, whatever the case may be.
Right.
We do a lot of that work as
Okay.
well. And we do a lot of work for SBA is one of my biggest clients. The SBA loans
Oh,
that go
really?
bad, I
Oh,
do all
sure.
those sales for them around the country.
Well, good. Well, yeah, we can certainly talk more about that. It's very
Yeah.
it fit in, and particularly on our lender finance in terms of that. Not that we would have those assets, but we were in that sort of ecosystem, and so it would be good. And so, sure, let's talk more about that.
I love it.
All right. We're getting
No,
on that hour, Anthony.
I know it's coming to the top of the hour, but I had some more questions that I wanted to ask.
Insatiable.
I
Mhm.
know,
Be here all night.
because I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about it. Oh, okay. Hold on. How about this one?
Mhm.
Okay, you already touched on that one. Okay. So you already talked about your personal life experiences and how it played and shaped your role. Like it's like I already fed you that question. You already answered that one.
Good.
Wow.
Well, you're
How about
looking.
this one?
I was going to just say Woodmore. I was a member there years ago when I worked in Landover. I was at the bank right there. You know, like they still call it the Darth Vader building right there.
That's right.
Yeah,
Of
so
which I used to manage. I used to handle the leasing for the Darth Vader building.
okay. Well, what?
That's right.
I was actually in the building right next door, and the Darth they had that.
Yeah, corporate drive.
But it was it. I found out I could be a member of that as like a social member or something, and I just scoot up the road just a little bit and get to Woodmore, and you're sort of out in the country, and it was pleasant, and so it was really nice.
Yeah, you still can. Come on back.
Okay.
I in fact, you know what I'm gonna do? Because we get brownie points for referring people. I'm gonna talk to the general manager, Daniel Hale, the general manager at Woodmore Country Club.
Yep.
And tell him that I'm making the referral of Scot Browning to come back as a social member. Okay,
All right.
that's documented. Okay, but here's the thing. Let's talk about if there is such a thing of balancing personal life and your role as president of
Mm-hmm.
how has it been? Have you been able to? Can it happen? Such a thing?
Yeah, that's a great question because you really do need to have a balance, but you also have to be committed to getting stuff done. A couple mentors in my career, and one person said to me that, do what you say, no matter what it takes. So do what you say, no matter what it takes. Well, sometimes that's 8 o'clock at night, hanking away at your computer at night, right? Then what you try to do for that balance is you bring the work home, which I think is probably a bad idea.
Yeah.
So what's worked out for me is if I want to do something because I have to invent some time because you want that balance, it's early morning. I don't mind the morning, but you get up at 3:45 in the morning and knock out 2 hours of work, and the day starts. It sounds a little out there when I say it, but if you're looking for the balance, then you're not 8 o'clock at night. You're not ignoring your family, right?
That's exactly right.
You know,
I love it. I love it. You mentioned you've had mentors. What about mentoring opportunities and charitable giving? We know that the bank supports charitable organization and is philanthropic.
Yeah.
But you personally, where's your heart? Where's your passion in regards to mentorship, and mentoring, and charitable giving?
Yeah, I think because of what I do, I try to be sure I'm taking that extra time for a talented young person who's genuinely interested in the banking business, and I want to sort of pass along what people did for me, and spending that extra time being patient and explaining things in a way that hopefully would be value for them. It's easy to say no to a customer request or something that doesn't seem to be right, and even if it's a deal that's probably not doable, but to sit down with someone and walk through the brainstorming of how can you say yes, what can you do, how can we solve this, and then some of these things work together, by the way. Do some joint calling. That is a good sales training exercise, but also it's good mentorship. And I think when I've gotten the feedback from people who have appreciated it, it's usually in that form of solving problems and rolling up our sleeves together. When you're busy, sometimes you have to pause and go, oh, I can't just wander away from this because I've got 15 other things I want to get done, and there's pressure, and there's tenseness or something, and there's stress. You go, wait a second, let's go get a cup of coffee and let's go sit down. Let's get out of our offices and go in a conference room, and just sit back and figure this out. And to me, that's the kind of mentoring that I think is hopefully valuable, that people would remember. And I've gotten feedback that it's been that way for some people.
I'm sure it has been. It has been indeed. Yeah. Scott, we're coming up on the last 3 minutes. As I said, we enjoy this time, but we never take up more than 60 minutes of anyone's time. Sure. No one wants to endure me droning on for more than 60 minutes.
Well, you want to always leave them to come back for more, right?
And they do want more. Sure. They do come back. Fernando, any last thoughts here before we give it to
Scott? Good show. Appreciate it, Scott. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Fernando.
Very informative. Hopefully, we can work together in the future. Yeah. I know me and Anthony have 30 years plus experience. Each of us, we're lifers like yourself in the real estate industry, and we're here to help. I mean, I know you say you don't have anything pressing right now, but I think that office creator's happening, and hopefully you don't get hit with it. But if you do, we're here to make it work.
Yeah, no, I just looked at our numbers today because I know our numbers. One, we want to do that, and we'll stay in touch and see how we can do some business together. But I'm proud of the bank. We have $1.9 billion in assets, and our non-owner occupied office total is less than 20 million. So
good.
That's public information I can share. So our exposure, we do have other office that's owner occupied, and the repayment comes from business cash flow, not from rental income. But, so I can sleep at night.
That's right. You mentioned at the top of the presentation CBNK and that you all were a publicly traded
Yes.
company. Now tell our audience who don't own stocks and bonds
Okay.
what opportunity that represents for them as individuals.
Well, in a publicly traded company, you can buy the stock retail. You don't have to be a qualified investor. You just go to Schwab or wherever else and buy stock certificates. Banking, since I know it, is I find it interesting to follow bank stocks and follow the performance of banks. And if you are interested, you should do research on the different banks that are out there. Try to find where you can get information on how you evaluate a bank stock. So what you want to find is a bank that's got a growth opportunity that is going to be relevant in the future, right?
That's right.
And is probably a bargain to buy now. So, and right now is not a bad time because stock prices are depressed for what's just going on in general, and everyone goes down. It's like the tide goes out, everyone goes down, and there are people in that group. And I won't speak about ourselves because I can't, but I would say, there are out there that, go down and you say that bank has been pulled down by the market, but it's really got wonderful opportunities in the future. Banks that might be very technologically advanced, they call them challenger banks, and that they're going to be the super high performer 2, 3, 5 years down the road, and your stock will do very well if you make that investment. So just don't go buy a bank or a bank stock on a whim. Do your research, and there's tons of information out there in this data marketplace. It's just amazing.
Scot Browning, everybody, President Capital Bank.
Thank
Scot,
you.
before we let you go, is there a final word you would share with the audience here? Something that, I'm not asking you to give up the jewels or anything, but
sure.
One last thought before we close out here.
Sure. If whatever line of business that you're in, always strive to be your best at it, and your best is not the best. I can't be Cal Ripken, right? Even though I like to swing a baseball bat now and then. So, but I can be the best what I can do if I on the baseball field. So, what you want to do is work at it every day, though. And sometimes you heard it. Who was it? Sharpen the saw. Is it? I forget what.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, sharpen. So every day, if you're a craftsman and you have a saw that you use, sharpen it when you do your work. So sharpen your saw, which is your mind, which is your skills, which is your knowledge. Do something every day to help make yourself sharp and know what you want to do when you're engaged in doing your business, which is be thoughtful, be informed, be prepared, and have an open mind about everything that's coming at you, and take the best stuff and respect the other stuff, but you don't have to spend time on the stuff that doesn't make sense to you. But be disciplined about it. And people I've seen that have been very successful are disciplined. Their businesses, their crafts, so to speak, and they work at it. It just doesn't come easy.
No, or overnight.
All right, I got to get going. Speaking of party and family time.
Hey, everyone, this has been Scot Browning here on Chasing Gazillions.
Great.
Not the same as Making Millions. Wednesdays with Fernando and Anthony. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you all next week. Oh, I like that little the thing.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Or is that allergies? Was that allergies?
No, I don't know what it was. It was a nervous tick.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right.
See you guys.
Everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.